This is IGN. A sequel that sharpens Obsidian's RPG formula with smarter writing and better combat. This is your IGN review of The Outer Worlds 2 by Travis Northrop. If Star Trek is the optimistic dream of what humanity could become, The Outer Worlds 2 is the nihilistic nightmare of what it will probably be. Thankfully, both make for highly entertaining material to explore, and this second run through Obsidian's corporate dystopia is a significant step up from the original. With a story that's more grounded and interesting, significantly more competent combat, and an irresistible RPG grind, I had a blast putting my fists through the Kafka-esque final frontier alongside a cast of memorable companions, even when a weak first act and some truly terrible enemy variety made the going less exciting. Across the more than 65 hours my completionist playthrough took, I fought with myself over moral dilemmas, giggled at absurd world-building, and brought several would-be dictators to their knees. That's exactly what the for-profit space doctor ordered. The Outer Worlds 2 is a good old-fashioned single-player open-world RPG in the same vein as Dragon Age, Fallout, and Avowed. You know, the ones where you're an especially cool person given undue authority to insert yourself into the various conflicts of the world and decide the fate of all living beings while collecting a cast of snarky companions in the process. Well, as a follow-up to 2019's The Outer Worlds and a sorta kinda follow-up to 2010's Fallout New Vegas, Obsidian is at it again with a very similar blueprint here. It lays out a new dystopia to shoot your way through as you level up, grab every piece of loot within reach, and solve all the galaxy's long-standing problems in no time at all. It's not the most novel concept to be sure, but it's one I love that we simply don't get enough of, and it pulls it off better than the vast majority of recent attempts. One area that is much more consistent is the absolutely gripping RPG climb, which sunk its teeth into me from moment one with a near constant stream of interesting decisions to make about who my character was and how in the heck he was going to be able to save the galaxy. With only 2 skill points earned per level to spend across 12 skills that make you good at everything from leadership to lockpicking, you've got some serious decisions to make about what you want to excel in. This becomes an even more stressful decision once you take a look at the enormous list of perks, which can only be unlocked if you've sufficiently bought into the relevant prerequisite skills. That includes things like the ability to pickpocket others, which only becomes available to those who have leveled up Sneak, or another perk that allows you to sell increasingly unbelievable lies as you improve your speech skill. While the first Outer Worlds was mostly passable when it came to combat, this sequel manages to level up to generally enjoyable, with snappier gunplay, improved mobility that has you sliding and double jumping around, and most importantly, an arsenal of weapons that feels much better suited for the gloriously goofy sci-fi setting. I found so many weird and unexpected weapons with unique effects, like a shotgun that fires shots completely silently and instantly melts its target so bodies can't be found, which is especially useful when trying to go undetected. And another weapon that started out weak but leveled up as I scored kills until it was an absolute beast, and which made me want to rewatch solo leveling. The biggest letdown with combat is definitely the enemy variety, which usually features 2 or 3 types of wild animal on each world that you see way too much of for several hours at a time, alongside your standard humanoid enemies and a few robotic foes here and there. You'll encounter a whole hell of a lot of Raptidon creatures from the original, for example, and I found myself extremely sick of seeing them before I'd even left the first planet, much less by the time I'd entered the final stretch and was still running into them. It's pretty disappointing that in a galaxy filled with so much promise, there's practically no surprises in terms of the adversaries you face after only a few hours. The Outer Worlds 2 doesn't try to rewrite Obsidian's RPG playbook, but it's yet another strong refinement with smoother combat, diabolically compelling build crafting and loot, and a story that immediately made me want to start again to see an alternate outcome. The sluggish first act and lack of enemy variety make it a bit of a slog at certain times, but once its story of political intrigue kicks in and the new flaws and perks system gets its claws in you, it can be quite hard to put down. All these improvements put The Outer Worlds 2 that much closer to being the Fallout New Vegas successor we hoped this series would be, and that's worth getting excited about. The Outer Worlds 2's IGN score? 8 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest updates on The Outer Worlds 2, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.